Hi, thank you for visiting Two-Way Street Coffee House. Today, we are here with George Mattson. We just decided to sit down with him and do a little bit of an interview before his show to find out some more facts about George. We love and know him, but we don't know enough about him, and we love to make it personal. So,
Absolutely. So, of course, we want to start and welcome George. Thank you so much for being with us, George, and for performing on Friday. We're looking forward to celebrating the 2000s with George Mattson Trio. So, how did you first come to be involved with Two Way Street?
Well, back in, let's see, the first connection I made was when I was working on an album with Mark Dvorak. We were doing Use It Up, his CD. It was his first CD, I guess. He had a cassette tape earlier, but basically, I was helping on that project with Mark, and Dave Humphreys was playing bass. So we came out and I met Dave at the Two-Way Street at that time. And Mark said you ought to hire him and get him in here to play some Friday night. And happily, Dave decided I was good enough to come on a Friday night. So, I'm not sure what year it was. I know the first date I played was October 92. It may have been earlier in 92 when we were doing the album, or it might have been the year before. I'm not sure.
were you producer on that album?
I
Or
was co-producer. Mark and I co-produced it. Yes, that's correct.
That's
He he had heard some tapes that I had made at home and thought that I knew what I was doing when I was tricking him quite a bit.
you could
well,
afford it.
fake it till you make it, George. That's fine. That's fine. so, you started performing and getting involved. So, tell us about the Plank Road Folk Society and how you came to be involved in that.
Same story pretty much, because Mark was one of the founders of the Plank Road. And so when I met Mark in 88, I started taking banjo lessons and he quickly recruited me into the Plank Road group. And I think Marianne Moorhusen was president officially at that time. Mark was getting busier and doing more and more concerts, but he had been a former president of Plank Road. So, and there's always been a close tie between Two-Way Street and Plank Road. Uh, they're co-producers of the sing-arounds and things for a long time. The history predates me, so I'm not quite sure of all the history there, but
Didn't you record one of your early performances at the Two-Way Street? And I can't remember if you released that or if you just gave it away as a perk to your fans.
I a friend of mine from the Old Town School came out and recorded a show on his cassette recorder in the back of the room, and it's not a great audio thing because it's as good as a small little portable cassette player would do. But a couple years ago, I had a show where I recorded it onto CDs and passed them out because it was my first performance at the Two-Way Street. That's why I remember it's October 92, because Barry dated that tape. I know when it was from. So yes, I made about 40 or 50 copies and passed them out at the show that we did a few years ago when the trio played it. Yes.
So the hard to find bootleg of
I
your
know,
live
right?
concert.
You
Yeah.
heard it here first. Like people are going to be searching.
So, and you spoke about the Plank Road and your involvement there. Um, I kind of view you as like the human iPod, because when I attend those sing-arounds, I feel like you know every song known to man just about. Um, but you're a favored, host of the sessions and things like that. You know, is that just something because no one else did it and you like got in there, or like was it something you had a passion for, or
Well, I bought a condo in Downers Grove in November of '92. So this all dovetails together. And I moved in the spring because I rented the condo back to the people selling to me. I got a better price on the condo that way. But anyways,
businessman.
when I moved in '93, I started coming to the sing-arounds. Jerry Burke was the sing-around leader at that time. So relatively quickly, he started recruiting me as the substitute teacher or leader of the group. And I did substitutions until Jerry moved out to Sandwich. And at that time, because I was the substitute host, in '95, I became the permanent host, and we did the sing-arounds once a month. I can't remember. It was probably the first Saturday of the month. It could have been the third. But for several years, after I took over, we did one a month. And pressure from the group made us add another a second sing-around. So a few years after I started hosting, we added a first and third Saturday. It's been growing ever since.
It has been growing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so before you were in the area, you were part of Old Town? Or do you tell us about how you came to be involved in Old Town? And
well, in '88, I believe, I had built a banjo and I didn't know how to play it. So I went to the Old Town School and started taking lessons from Mark Dvorak, it's been all downhill since then.
So Mark is the culprit. We need to blame him for all of this.
That's right.
We have it on tape now.
We do,
yes.
we know.
Yes. And I took 8 weeks of classes from Mark, and then took 8 weeks of classes from Michael Miles on banjo, and made some good friends. And Michael hired me as a guitar teacher, not a banjo teacher. They needed more beginning guitar teachers, and I could handle the beginning guitar teachers. So I started teaching once a week at the Old Town School. That must have been '89, maybe the very end of '88. But
and it was fame and stardom since then.
yeah.
But no, such a huge part of the Chicagoland folk community at large for such a long time. So
Well, I met a lot of great players and teachers from the Old Town School, and some great connections there. Yes.
Absolutely. What else do you want to add?
Well, in our research, we found this recording of this band called the Shays. I'm dying to know.
Yes, tell us all about it.
That was like a high school band for you or something?
It started in high school. I was a sophomore, 15 years old in high school, and it went into the first year of college. We started playing, that would have been '62 together. And we played until 3 of us got drafted into
That's a good reason for the band to break up.
I was the youngest member of the Shays. I had just moved out to Arlington Heights and spent a summer in the basement learning how to play guitar. And so by the time I started my sophomore year at Prospect, I was ready to join a band, and which we did together. And we had a relative amount of success as a high school band back then.
So now you grew up in the area then, but just not.
I grew up in Chicago. I was brought up in Chicago on the west side.
South side?
The west side.
West side, okay.
Austin is the neighborhood I came from, which is just adjacent to Oak Park.
Mm-hmm.
And but anyways, let's see, we recorded 45 and 65. Maybe we recorded, maybe it was 64. It was released in 65, and there was, they were looking for local groups to play. There was a conflict between WCFL and WLS to be the top rock band on the AM bandwidth. And WCFL played our 45 for a short while, and I had written both sides of it. I got a little bit of small little payments from BMI because of that play on the radio for a few years. So I used to get checks for $2.51 from BMI. I wish I would have saved one, but back then I needed the cash, so I cashed those.
If you haven't updated your account online, you might find there's another $5 there or something.
It might be.
But then you got to buy me a beer. So, you know, in our talking, you had talked about an annual trip that you make to Merlefest. I'm looking forward someday to going to Merlefest. And, you know, many of our friends, you know, as performers play there. And I can't wait to get there and maybe even go with you if you'll let me in your car. But tell me about how you got involved in that and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, we started, a group of us from the Old Town School. First time I went was with Bob Gronko and Tom Conway and I. We went, I think it was probably 88 or 89. I'll bet it's 89 because probably didn't have enough. But Tom Conway had suggested it, and we did several trips together. I think 3 years in a row I went down with Tom, and just got in the habit. Tom stopped going, but I didn't want to stop. So I continued to go because we met people down there and we'd get together with friends, new friends that we'd made down there. And so that continued for quite a while until probably early, maybe mid 90s. And then I backed off of a little because it was, I don't remember exactly why. However, some other friends started going down there in about 2002, and we re-upped and started going back down there again every year. So it's become a regular meeting place of, there's 10 of us. We rent a cabin. Although occasionally we've gotten people who might bring a sleeping bag along, and you might be able to get a room on the floor, Joel, if you joined us. But
you'll have to tell me all about it.
that would
that sounds so much fun.
It's not out of the question because others have joined us from time to time, especially if people can't make 1 year or not. But yeah, I've gone to more than half of them since '88. So this year we missed because they canceled the whole thing.
Right.
I had tickets for it this year, and I was very anxious because John Prine and Willie Nelson were going to be on there. I've seen John dozens of times, but Willie I'd never seen before. But yeah, even they canceled it in early March, and John passed away just a couple weeks after it got canceled. So Willie is still going, and they're saying they're asking all the artists back next year. So they've already pushed it from the spring to the fall. So next year it's scheduled for the fall. And
so hopefully that will all work out so that
I'm crossing my fingers. Yes, exactly.
Well, we just have like one more question, but George, I just want to say thank you for all that you do for the Plank Road and the Two-Way Street, for hosting.
Just an incredible volunteer and member of the folk community.
Oh, one of my favorite entertainers of all time. Your selection of songs and the choices it really hits my
I,
heart for me. So
well, I thank the two-way street for being there because I wouldn't be volunteering if it wasn't fun. And it's
Right?
always great to get together at the two-way street and do the sing-arounds and the various programs that they have. I enjoy it, and I thank you guys. I'm honored that you asking the trail to play during the 50th anniversary month. It's great to be a part of that.
Well, we're super excited to have you, and that you're such a great big part of our Two Way Street family, because I feel like that's what it is, and it's volunteers
It
and
is.
members and patrons and artists like you who give a good amount of their time to make sure that there's music everywhere for everybody to enjoy. So we certainly do appreciate it. So one last thing, is
Sure.
there anything that the audience at large does not know about George Mattson that we should know? Like anything.
fun fact.
A fun fact.
Well, I'm going to relate back. You, Jennifer told me that she had eaten a squirrel.
Yes.
With,
I did. Thanks, George.
yeah.
Thanks for that.
And
It was
so
supposed to be your fun fact, not my fun
using
fact.
that as to prompt that my brother talked me into when I was down in Florida visiting Mike, that he got me to eat alligator. And I wasn't really happy with it. He said it's sort of like chicken, but that's what everybody says about
Yeah.
Anything.
cats or anything.
Squirrels taste like chicken.
Squirrel, sort of like chicken, but it had this nasty aftertaste. And he said, well, that's what the barbecue sauce is for, because he dipped it in barbecue. And I said, if you have to dip something in barbecue sauce to kill the taste, why are we doing this?
And you probably paid extra for it too.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I think you had a choice of sauces that you could eat with it, but it was very, very tough, chewy chicken that had a slight taste of chicken at the first bite, but nah.
So there you have.
I ate a bit of it, but yeah, I'm not going to do it again.
Well, okay. So I mean,
George has eaten alligator, and the official verdict is it's gamey, and don't try it. Unless
you heard it here.
in New
This
Orleans.
is like hard hitting journalism, like at its best.
Deer is better. Deer is better.
Deer.
I've had all of those things.
And as we said, lamb is good too.
I went to eggplant. So, all right.
Oh no, I wouldn't eggplant. No, I wouldn't.
It's just going too far. But George, thank you for performing as part of the 50th anniversary. It's a delight.
Yes.
Thank you very much for asking, and it's been a great association with the Two Way Street. I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.